Hello everyone. Welcome back to the database course. Let me start by talking about the midterm and the project. Your midterm is going to be April 23rd, which is the next Thursday. I will make an announcement specifying the exact time. So let's say 4 p.m. Okay, for now. 4 p.m. I didn't put it yet. I will put it and inform you of some details, number of questions, and the time you can work in the exam time. The midterm will include everything that we have taken until what we take also today. That's for the midterm. I will make this clear in an announcement. Also, your project. So your project, there is a project for this course. It's going to be individual work, and there will be a meeting with each and everybody of you on an individual basis to present your work and answer the questions, whatever questions I ask you. So I will do this announcement and I will provide you with the project statement, which is going to be, the presentation is going to be, the deadline is May 14, which is going to be also a Thursday. So I want you to all be prepared for these two assessments. And of course, there is going to be a final in the final period, which is after May 15. Now, what we'll take today is an example-based explanation. I will provide you with a database about employees and company. This database you can include in your MySQL, and you can run these statements, all the SQL statements in this example, in these slides, all the examples. You can run them and make sure they give you the same result. So I will provide you with the database and the lecture notes after I post the video. So there are some bits and pieces of query which I didn't, of SQL language, which I haven't introduced yet. I will introduce them in the coming two slides and wrap up with those. I would wrap up the SQL. So based on your recommendation, I'm providing you more examples. So the default of any query statement is that all the duplicates will show. Okay, so when you run a query, by default, the default is the duplicates to show, and this is an example which you can run on the database that I will provide you. If you select department ID from employees, you will have the duplicates will also show. So as you can see, these three rows are the same. It didn't remove them. However, if I said select distinct department ID from employees, in this case, the duplications will be removed. This is evident, but this is an example to show you how it works. The comparison conditions, some people were asking too. So these are the comparison operators that you can use in SQL, which are obviously what you are already used to. This is not equal. This stands for not equal. Okay. Yes. We also have between and between two values. Between this number and this number. These are the two keywords that you use. I will have an example on this. You have an in, you match if the value is in this set. So you have to provide a set between brackets, and I will give you an example on this too. Like, we have seen like before, have another example, and is null, check if the number is null, if the result is null. So in this case, this is providing you with the employees where salary is less than or equal 3,000, and this is going to be the result. All right. If you want to use the between condition, then it will display rows based on a certain range between this value, and this is how you use them. So in here, we're providing more examples. Okay, so we have a lower limit and an upper limit. So it can be 2,500 and it can be 3,500 and any value between these two values, and this is the format. And it showed me the salary and the last name because that's what I have in the select list statement. N, you provide a set, as you can see, separated by commas. You can see them evidently in this example that all the projected rows are actually in this value, one of these three values in this set. Very interesting. According to your application, you can use them. So we're looking at the manager ID, and the manager ID was one of these three. And the output table is actually having 4 fields based on the select statement. You should all be very comfortable with these examples, or else you have to study more, because you have to be this should be trivial for you at this point. Using the like condition, we said about the like condition, it performed wildcard searches of strings, which means that you can provide some wildcards. We have talked about this before, and this is an example, another example here. Okay, so first name like, okay, S, so it has to start with S. Percentage stands for 0 or many characters, which means that 0 or more characters, which means that it can have any number of characters or 0. You can check wildcards online and see more wildcards that you can use. Okay, this is the underscore, and we said the underscore means one single character. So in this example, we're using underscore, okay, O and percentage, and this shows me all the last names where the second letter is O, and the second letter is O because I said that there's an underscore. I could have had 2 underscores that would make it the third letter, and 0 or more characters after that. Again, this is an example of some operators. For example, the AND operator, okay, where both of these conditions should be true. So I combined salary greater than or equal from table employees, salary greater than or equal a certain value, and job ID like %man %, so which means that the job ID should contain the man word. Okay, so %, which means 0 or more, so this you should be able to comprehend this as having a man, the man substring. And it's showing me 4 fields. The table, the projection is on 4 fields, which represent these 4 fields that are present in the select set of fields. Now, the difference between this one and this one, as you can see, is only that I put or instead of and. Okay, and in this case, as expected, you have more matches, because or matches on this condition, whoever does this condition or this condition, and in this case it showed me a bigger set, as expected. You can use the not operator, and we all know the not operator, which we are used to, that looks like an exclamation mark, and here you can use the not itself. So not in will show me all the last name and job ID of employees that don't have the job ID equal to any of these. Okay, so not in this. If you look at the result table, you will see that none of the job IDs matches these, because I said not in. I have talked about order by before, okay, and this is an example. I didn't provide an example before. Now I have an order by with an example. So order by, it can be ascending, which is the default. So if I didn't specify, as in this example here, as in this query statement, I haven't specified whether it's ascending or descending, so by default it takes it as ascending. Okay, otherwise I can put descending. Okay, so select, I have these 4 fields, okay, from employees, order by, hire date, so it's going to be ascending, as can be seen here. And order by, which means they are going to be sorted. This is the way of sorting the resulting set, the resulting relation. If you want to sort in descending order, you provide descend, the word DESC, in as the last word in the statement. Okay. After order by, you select which field followed by descending. Okay. We can sort by column alias, and you know what alias means. When you can provide a field and an alias beside it. In this case, the field is salary times 12, which is an arithmetic expression. The salary times 12, it will calculate salary times 12, and it will name this column as ANSAL, okay, which means annular, yes, and as like in year, okay, annual salary, okay, that's annual salary. So order by annual salary, which means you can use the alias. Sorting by multiple columns, what will happen is first you sort by department ID. If you have two similar department IDs, then you sort by the salary. Okay, and we're providing here that it's descending on these two columns. These functions convert case for character strings. So now let's look at case manipulation functions. They are used a lot. These are actually used a lot in your application, because when you want to compare strings and you don't care about its case sensitivity, then in this case you will convert your value to lower and then compare it with the lower case value. You can do the same thing with upper, or you can initialize initial capitalization, which means that capitalize each word. There's a lot of functions for string manipulation functions, date functions, number functions, very interesting functions with their details. If you click on each function, it will give you an example in SQL. Please visit this website here for your application project, for your project. You can go to this site here, and you will be provided with the complete list of functions that you can use for MySQL. So this is an example of these case manipulation functions. For example, if you select, let's say, last name equal Higgins, all right, where Higgins was, for example, it's saved as capital H, then no rows will be output. The output will be empty. The result of this query will be an empty table. However, if I put lower last name, so I'm checking the last name field, but I'm checking the lower case of last name. So because I don't care about the case sensitivity, so last name in its lower case, I want to check if it's equal to Higgins. So you can use this way in order to make sure you have a correct, your program is going to run correctly. All right. Why is that? Because you don't care whether the first letter is capitalized or not. So it depends if your string is case sensitive or not. So if it's not case sensitive, it's recommended that you first convert it to, you convert the field that's present in the database to lowercase only in the where clause, okay? And then check if it's equal to a certain string. These are more functions on character manipulation. Okay, you have concatenation. You can concatenate two strings separated by comma. Substring, it's going to get the substring of hello world. Okay, starting from 1. This in the substring function, they consider the first letter as 1, not 0. Okay, so when I say 1, this means the first letter. If you didn't specify, it could have worked without specifying the length. So I specified the length to be 5. I could have only had the index at which to start the substring. If I didn't specify the length here, the length of the substring, it will take till the end. Okay, by default, it's till the end. So I specified here that I want to start from index 1 and having 5 characters. So that would give me hello. Length will give me the length of the string between two quotes. In string, it will show me what's the index of this string in this string, and in this case, it is going to be 6 because again, I'm counting from 1. Left padding of stars. Okay, you can left pad on stars in this way, and you're specifying 10, the resulting string to be of size 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 as expected. So left pad to make it 10, length of 10 characters, right pad to make it the length of 10 characters. Right pad with any, you can right pad with zeros, you can right pad with spaces, it depends. Replace, again. Replace, okay, so I'm replacing this substring with this substring. So every J, whenever you see a J in this string, replace it with BL. That would be the resulting string. Trim, which is going to remove H from hello world, so it's going to look like this. So there are a list, as I told you, and on this link over here, there's a list. I selected only those, but there's a big list of string manipulation functions and number functions and date functions, which are very useful to use with examples. This is an example of using the string manipulation functions, the character manipulation functions. Okay, so what do we have here? So we have concatenate first name, last name. Okay, so this is like the arithmetic expressions that we did before. Let's say salary times 12. Okay, so I'm doing an operation on the first name and last name. I'm joining them together. And I'm giving alias to this field to be name. So as you can see in the output, I have name, okay, and it's actually the first name and the last name concatenated without a space because I didn't specify a space here. Okay, job ID, that's job ID in the output of this query. Length last name, so this will give me the length of last name. It will compute the length of last name. Finally, you have that contains a, so that contains a field, okay, which stands for in string last name A, so it's checking at which index in last name is A. All right, and the field in the output is going to be called where does it contain A or contains a question mark. So in this last name here, Abel, which is the last name, Abel, okay, it doesn't contain A because we're looking at lowercase a. It doesn't contain A, so if it doesn't contain A, it will be 0. Otherwise, it will give me the index, as I said before, starting with 1. So Taylor will have it at 2, Grant having it at 3, Faye having it at 2. So this is the in string function represented and contains A. So this is an alias for this function, the same way we did with arithmetic expression again. All right, and always the results are actually those from employees, where substring of job ID from 4 is equal to rep, okay, and as you can see, we didn't specify from 4, we didn't specify the length of the substring, so from 4 till the end of the string, it's rep, and as you can see, it only showed me the rows where they end with rep, ending with rep. So this represents, this function here represents as if I'm checking the job IDs that end with rep. So I only want to see, let's say, the representatives, employees. So this is a sufficient example of using the string manipulation functions. There are many number functions, which you can see, I told you again on the link that I shared with you. These are only 3 of these functions, okay, which is the round, the truncate, and the modulus, okay. So rounding to the second 2 decimal points will give me 0.93. Truncation will truncate whatever you have after the 2 decimal points, and in this case turned out to be 0.92. Modulus 1600, modulus 300 is like 16 modulus 3 is 1, so 1600 modulus 300 is actually 100. Okay, so this is an example of how to use number functions. So what do I want to do here? I want to calculate the remainder of the salary after it's divided by 5,000. So I'm using the mod operator, mod salary, okay, and 5,000, and that's how you use it. So you provide the field in the table, comma, okay, the number to which you want to mod. So I'm modding the salary with 5,000, and this is going to be the result, and this is the salary. If you check it, you'll find it right. And I'm only showing those who have the job ID equal SA representative, SA rep, but I'm not showing the job ID in the output, which is fine. I'm just showing the last name, the salary, and the mod salary 5,000. If you didn't put an alias for the field, it will show the function as so just a notification about dates. You're going to check the functions online, but there's an interesting function which is sysdate, which gives you the current date of the system. Okay, in this example, I used it to show how many weeks was the employees in the department where the ID is equal to 90. How many weeks have they been working with us? So what I did is that I used sysdate minus higher date, which is a data type, okay, over 7, and it gives me the number of weeks since these employees were working. Nesting functions, you know, we can use the nesting functions where you can use substring, okay, you select the substring from one, the length of 8 characters, okay. After this substring function, you are going to concatenate it with US, okay, and this is going to show you, it will give you this result, okay, and I didn't give it an alias, so it will show as is. So 8 is the maximum. If it's less than 8, it will just do the substring till the end, as you can see. This is an example of nesting functions, an example of the average and the sum functions. Okay, so you can use average on the salary, okay, maximum also the salary, minimum, sum of salary, okay. So from employees where job ID is like rep, these functions, they are called aggregation functions, in that they will give me a single value. Okay, so these functions, always the query will return a table, okay, but the length is 1 because it only gives me a single value. Okay, so it gave me the average of salary of those employees, yeah, the maximum salary, the minimum salary, and the sum of all the salary of these employees. So we can use min and maximum for numeric values, for character values, and for date data types. So I can have minimum hire date and maximum hire date, and it will give me the minimum hire date and the maximum hire date in the chronological order. As well, again, it's giving you a single value, but these are called aggregate functions. Count is also an aggregate function. It will return the count of all the resulting rows. Okay, so count returns the number of rows in a table. Okay, so select count star, the resulting all the resulting rows in employee where department ID is equal to 50. So the count was equal to 5. Count expression, you can return the number of rows with non-null values for the expression. Commission PCT from employees where department ID is equal to 80, so it will count how many have commission PCT not equal to null, while department ID is equal to 80. Which means that, for example, in this statement, okay, if one of the fields, if commission PCT, let's say, was null, it will count the row anyway. While in this example, count commission PCT. If one row has this doesn't have a value in here, which is, or it has null, okay, then it will not be counted. So it counts the resulting rows where commission PCT is not null. Clear? And as I told you, by default, the select statement, the queries will give me duplicates. If I use distinct expression, then it will return the number of distinct non-null values of the expression. Okay? So not only the number, okay, but also the number of the ones that are distinct from employee. So it's showing me select count distinct department ID from employees. So this example will give me the number, okay, of departments and employees, because it will only count the distinct values. So in this case, I have 7 department IDs. However, the table select count distinct department ID from employees, all employees, and all the table, okay, but it's ID with this table. Now let's look at the group by clause. We have seen group by, definitely we have seen group by before, but now I'm giving examples on it. I have mentioned before that if you have an aggregate function, let's say average salary, okay, so I want to show the average salary, I cannot have a column here with it unless it's in a group by clause. So I cannot have comma, employee name, for example, employee ID. Okay, I cannot have that because it's not going to show. It's not showing all the employee IDs. So if you have a column with the aggregate function, it has to be in the group by fields. Okay, so department ID showed with an aggregate function. This means that it has to be in the group by clause. And in this example, I'm grouping the employees according to their IDs. So I'm going to show how many have. So I'm going to show the ID of 10. So for all department ID who is 10, I'm showing the average salary of these employees. So I'm going to apply average on the salary field for those who have department ID equal 10. I'm showing the average of the salary of those who have department ID equal 20. Let me see if I have, okay, here I have it. Okay, so this is the grouping. This is showing me, this is all the employees table. This is what happens, that's the employees table. And here we have the grouping. So I'm grouping them by ID, by department ID. Okay. In that, I'm going to only show one value for these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say for these 6 rows, I'm going to put 50 because they're all 50. But for each salary of those, I'm applying average. So the average of those who have the ID, department ID equal 50 was 3,500. For department ID equal 10, I only have one employee, which means whose salary is 4,400. So average on one employee, one salary is going to be the salary itself. That's 4,400. So this is the idea of grouping for those who communicated with me that they didn't understand the group by. This is a sufficient explanation to show you that the table is grouped by department ID, okay, and it's applying this aggregate function on each group. And that's why, for example, I cannot write here a column that says salary here, because which salary would it show? This is a group of 10, so it cannot show salary. That's why I told you in the select list you can only show the columns that are in the group by clause. But however, the opposite is correct, which means the opposite is fine, which means you can group by department ID and not show it. Okay. But again, can I show salary here? The salary itself, salary, I cannot show salary because I don't know which salary to show. Okay, however, I could have put department ID here. All right, so group by department ID. I can put it, like in this example, I can show it, or I can just not show it, that's fine. I'm showing only the average salary, that's fine. But I cannot put here comma salary except, so I cannot show, for example, another field unless it's in the group by clause. We can group by multiple columns. Okay, so in here I am showing department ID, this is the alias as DEPT ID. I'm showing job ID, and the function, the aggregate function that I'm using is sum salary. Okay, so because I'm showing these two, this means that the group by, so putting job ID here and department ID, this means that both of them must appear in the group by clause. Okay, so how does it work? First, you group by department ID. So as you can see, we group by department ID, and then we group by job ID. For those departments, I group by job ID. So in this case, the department ID might appear twice or more than one time. To understand it better, let's look at the output. So this is the employees. This is from employees table. So this is the employees table. First, I arranged them group by department ID, as you can see. Okay, and then I group by job ID. Okay, so in here I would have 90 with ADPRES, and then 190 with ADVP. So let's see where the 90 is. That's the 90 for ADPRES. Okay, and 90 with ADVP. Okay, and for each of them I'm counting the sum salary. So you group by department ID. Okay, it should have been, these three should have been one group. If I only group by department ID, it will give me 190 for these, and it will do the average of all these salaries. But because I have group by ID and then group by job ID, okay, in this case I have two values, which is 90 for 90 for this one and 90 for this one. 60 now here, the 60 group. Okay, so this is the 60 group. In this 60 group, it happens that they all have the same job ID, so there will have to be 160 with IT programmer. Okay, and the average of all the salary. At 50, I have an exception in 50, not an exception, but okay, so this case applies in 50. So in here I have grouping by 50, but I have two job IDs, so I will present this one alone and this one as one row. So I have two 50s, 50 for ST man and 50 for clerk. So 50 for ST clerk and 50 for ST man, and here is the average for those and the average of here. Okay, 80 as well. I have 80 for SA man and I have 80 SA rep. So first we group by department ID and then we group by job ID. Please pause and look at it. You'll find it makes so much sense. Okay, and this is the output here is the same as the output I described here. Group by could be, sometimes group by could be, what do they say, could get you into problems. So we're saying here, if there is an expression or column or expression in the select list that's not an aggregate function, it has to be an aggregate function. If it's not an aggregate function and it doesn't appear in a group by clause, then it's going to give me an error. Okay, so in this case, you cannot put department ID with count because count is going to give me, it's an aggregate function, so it's going to give me one value, while department ID is much more than that, so this is not possible. So it will give me that it's not a single group. So if you put department ID here, then you will have to put to group by, and in this case, it will count for each group of department ID. And one tricky thing as well, so this could be tricky. The tricky thing is that you cannot use the where clause with group by. If you use group by, you have to use having. So in here, we're using having maximum salary greater than 1,000, and that's what it's showing me. It's showing me only the departments, group by departments, okay, and it's showing the maximum salary, but only for those whose maximum salary is greater than 1,000. $10,000, and this is the result, the same result, more elaborated again. For example, let's look at the 90. So this is the 90 here. So this is the group of 90. All right. It will show, what are we showing? Maximum. So the maximum salary, this is 90. Okay. What's the maximum salary? 24,000. Greater than 10,000. Yes. So it showed it. Okay. In 50, so for 50, what's the maximum salary? The maximum salary is 5,800, which is less than 10,000. So did it show it? It didn't show it. For 60, the maximum is 9,000, which is less than 10,000. So again, it didn't show it. So it only showed those who have maximum salary greater than 10,000. Very nice, very good elaboration. You can pause, and it makes so much sense. Again, you can use the having clause, okay, and you can order by as well, okay. So order by some salary, you can use this. So my payroll here, it showed payroll because I have alias for some salary. I use the where clause where job ID not like rep, so not the reps, okay. Group by job ID, I have a having class, and I have order by as well. In this case, I'm only showing the maximum average salary, group by ID, which means by department ID. You could have seen it. I could have put it here, maximum average salary. So to do an average, usually when you have an average, okay, maximum and average, which means you have a group of averages, which is grouped by department ID in this case. So for each department, I'm getting the average salary, and then I'm getting the maximum of that. We still have one lecture on SQL. If anybody, again, has any question, straightforward things, you can actually ask me, send an email. All right.